Okay, I will call this Senate County Commissioners meeting to order for Thursday, September 9th. We will begin by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please join me in a short prayer here. Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance and your wisdom as we discuss and make decisions on items that will affect those who put us in office. We want to remember in a special way all those victims of 9/11. This will be our 20-year anniversary of that event, and all the families that remain. Please give them peace. We also want in a special way to ask you to protect all those who are out there protecting our freedoms and their families. We ask all this through your Son. Amen. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Here.
Commissioner Paradiso?
Here.
Commissioner Schiff?
Here. Is Mr. Spar online?
He is.
Okay. So we are going to begin with John Spar, and he's going to talk to us about Preparedness Month. That would be the month of October, September? September. John Spar, you are on.
I am here. Sorry, I was planning on being in person today, but
Turn up.
staff out of the office, so I.
John, just one moment here. We need to
Hang on, John.
We need to crank the volume up
I
here.
think
somehow.
the remote might be stuck in a couch cushion. Oh, there it is.
Oh, you.
We want
Is
to
that
make
the
sure
one
we
for that
hear
one?
every word you said.
Nope. Wrong one.
It's got to be over there somewhere.
Okay, let's try it.
No, it's going to be quiet. We got to find the right remote. There's
Oh.
3 different remotes, of course, right? Hey, good guess. Put them up to like 70. It's usually what we're at.
Okay.
I think usually that TV is the one that gets the volume. So technical difficulties today, guys. Okay, John, try it now.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. All right, yes, September is Disaster Preparedness Month. Thank you for having me on. Like I said, I was going to be there in person today, but I stayed back to keep the building open with Danny out today and Ken out on leave. So, yeah, coming to you right here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Every September we do the Preparedness Month, and some of the good resources for that are obviously this office, and also to go to the FEMA's website, ready.gov, and they help your everyday average citizen prepare themselves for the possibilities of any kind of disaster. And of course, we've just seen the recent hurricane and the flooding, and places like the Northeast that were not really prepared for this level of disaster to visit them. They're of course used to catching the tail ends of lots of hurricanes and storms, but that was some pretty shocking video with the water coming into subways and subway stations, etc. They got a lot, and it should push the point home that this can happen anywhere. And our motto in this office is when, not if. So I try to keep people from saying if this is going to happen, if we're going to have a problem. It's going to happen someday. Hopefully, not while we're around, but we got to prepare because it could happen tonight or tomorrow, this weekend, anytime. Some of the things that people can do. Most important, and we push this out to the schools and work with them on preparing kids for disasters. You can teach kids at home and at the schools what they can do. Just things like have a family have a plan for where you might meet if there's a problem. You know, have the kids know where to go when something happens. If there's a storm and they're all separated, have a secondary location where everybody can meet up that's safe. At home, you can build kits for disaster preparedness. Make sure you have things like as simple as, excuse me, I'm turning that radio down. As simple as having bicycle helmets around in case there's a windstorm and your house may be damaged. And you go to those places, that we've talked about for years, about getting to interior walls and into bathrooms or into basements where you'll be protected from anything falling above. Staying away from windows and flying glass, etc., for wind. Seneca County is mostly wind from storms and possible flooding from extensive rain. So keeping things on hand like flashlights and weather radios. And in case the power goes out, you want to have extra batteries. Your phone's charged up, maybe a supplemental battery for your phone so that you can make contact with loved ones and emergency personnel in case something should happen at your residence. Seneca County EMA is always prepared to help people get those things ready with information, and we have a few things around here that can help people out. Last time I talked to the commissioners about the flooding in Bettsville and how we have some cleanup kits available that were donated to us, and we have those still available for anybody who has flooding in their basement or problems like that. Alarm systems. Families can get pretty inexpensive. If you talk to your insurance companies, you may be able to save on your insurance, your home insurance or renter's insurance, by having some alarm systems in that include high water sensors that you can put in your basement. Of course, smoke alarms and smoke detectors, as well as carbon monoxide detectors, things like that for everyday problems. Keeping an eye on the weather itself. And signing up for the wireless emergency notification system that we have here in Seneca County it will be helpful. We have automatic alerts that come out when the National Weather Service declares a severe storm warning or a watch warning. You'll get an automatic one for a warning. We put out the information from the watch manually, but when a warning is declared for Seneca County, the WEN system sends an automatic message to your phone, email, your cell phone, text messages, telling you that the county is under a warning and advises you to check with local media to find out the specifics. So if anybody needs assistance with getting signed up for a wireless emergency notification system for Seneca County, they can call this office. Anybody up here can help get them signed up. So if you're technologically disadvantaged and still want to get that information, and you can get it on your home phone, on your landline, it'll come as a recorded message. That's all a possibility, and if you're not sure how to sign up for that, a phone call up here and we'll get you signed up. We also put out standard things on that system, as well as like road closures, etc., to keep people informed of other hazards in the county. So ready.gov is a very good place to go, and we do direct them from our website, which is senecacountyema.org, to the ready.gov website for preparedness and things you can do yourself. Do I have any questions?
Any questions from anyone? John, I think it's very informative. You're right, I remember, do they teach any of this stuff in the schools? Is there any class?
They do, and we're trying to work with the schools to get in there and get them the right current information, things for all age levels, all grade levels, I should say.
Yeah, I mean,
and some of it's as simple as, coloring pictures with information on it, things you can take home and put on the refrigerator that will help inform the rest of the family and maybe get that conversation started at home. The best thing to do is have a plan. And if, parents are busy. But if the kids come home and say, hey, let's make a plan for what would happen if there was a tornado or if there was a flood, I think parents are more likely to sit down with their kids and make that plan and practice it, including making a diagram of your home.
yeah, I remember there also used to be, they would urge you to go home and talk to the kids about an escape route in case of fire. You know, what windows to use and those kind of things, yeah. Okay. All right, that's very informative. It's always good to be reminded of this stuff, once, at least once a year, maybe more often.
And each year, I want to put this out, I'm not sure what the status of this program is at this moment, but each year, and I do put this out when it comes out, is there is a safe room rebate program through the state of Ohio where you can get at least half of the cost of adding a tornado safe room to your property paid for through a grant through Ohio EMA.
Really?
And every year they put that out, and I send that out. It usually comes in the spring, so people can start to look into what they might be able to do. These include a safe room in your garage. It's just a built-in spot that is more safe than just sitting in your home. Some of them are as extensive as burying something in your yard. Just like the other, the tornado safe rooms that they have across the country, and what we were building back in the 50s and 60s. They're still available. They're available as all-in-one units that you can install, and you can be selected to have part of that cost reimbursed to you by the state EMA.
Storm cellar, put you in mind of the Wizard of Oz, right?
There you go. I haven't figured out how to get them to build me a great big building that I can put one in, but, I'm working on it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, wait, Tom?
I got a comment.
Yeah.
My daughter and I were just talking about this yesterday. In fact, she's on the road back to Washington right now. But she said people, when they have a fire or an accident, they stand around. She said they've been taught to run. Get out of there, just go. You're in your office, people will sit there and think, well, that's not on my floor. I'm not going. She said you'll never be criticized for running away, even though it didn't affect your room in your office or something. She's talking like
Absolutely.
we talked about that a long time ago.
That's a better safe than sorry situation, which of course we've been saying for years and years and years. Better safe than sorry. There's no problem with going outside, getting away, finding out there's no problem, and going back.
Right. She said 9/11, that's what people done. They stood around and didn't get away. Of course, she didn't get home for a long time after 9/11.
Yeah.
Of course, she was in the FBI then.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good thought, thanks, Tom. Okay, any other questions? All right, well, let's get a motion to approve the digital audio video recording of the previous board session from September 2nd.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. Stacy, what do you have this morning?
Just a couple meeting reminders. Kylie sent an email out. We're having an update with ODOT about the airport on Monday at 9 o'clock. It's going to be through Zoom. And then don't forget to get registered for the Downtown Summit. That's September 23rd, starting at 5:30. If you need registered, we can do it for you, or just let us know. But we want to make sure that's on your radar.
Okay, while we're on the topic, we might as well talk about this weekend's festivities or activities for the 9/11 Memorial. And Saturday morning in Tiffin at 8:36, which is when the first plane struck, at the
Patriots Memorial.
the 911 Memorial down off of South Washington Street across from Ralph Shoy Living. There will be a ceremony. It'd be nice for as many people as possible to be there. And then in Fostoria at 10 o'clock at the cemetery. Is that on State Route 18?
Yes.
Route 18.
North side.
At 10 o'clock. So those are two memorial services that are going to happen in respect for those who lost their lives on 9/11.
That's all I have.
All right. Tyler.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Okay. Commissioner Paradiso.
Just a brief report on the increase in COVID cases in the county. A nice article in the paper Wednesday. It's a good article. I'm not sure the content was good, but we had 105 new cases in 7 days in Seneca County, so just a little concerned, but everyone knows what to do, so just wanted to bring that up. We have support, and for our health commissioner, she has to navigate through these kind of things, and
Okay.
leave it at that.
I don't know if health commissioner's on the line or not. She might want to give us an update as to what's going on.
Ann, you want?
Nope, I don't see her.
No? Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it, let's see.
All right, so we have some old business, EMS. Is this in relation to the correspondence?
Yep, I figured I'd put it on there so I didn't forget.
Okay. You gotta bring that up.
Yep, I can.
You might want to frame the,
So there's been,
Backdropping.
weeks and months of discussion about countywide EMS system. We are asking for answers from each of the ambulance districts as to whether or not they would like to be part of the countywide system. A number of them have said yes. Some of them are still making decisions. We did receive a letter from Bascom asking a number of questions. The first set of questions are basically what would happen if they did enter the system, and the second set of questions is what would happen if they didn't. So they asked for an answer as soon as possible. We got this, I think, 2 days ago. So we were going to kind of briefly, and I mean briefly, go through these because we can't have discussions about decisions outside of this meeting. So it has to be a matter of public discussion. I will start it by saying I think that we're at the point now that the commissioners have made the decision that there will be some sort of structure countywide. We're not sure who all is going to be included in that structure, but at this point we have a few of the ambulance districts that have agreed. So we're going to move forward with that. What I realize after reading these questions is that we as commissioners are probably in a situation now where we need to turn over the question and answer portion and the logistics and the qualifications to hire people and decision about mutual aid and all the things that are contained herein to our administration. And that would be to Ken Majors, to pretty much answer these questions, because some of them start to get technical, and we also need the advice of counsel Derek to get it done. So having said that, I wanted to begin by saying none of the answers that were given today are binding on us or on future commissioners. We are just trying at this point, at this snapshot of time, to give you the best answer that we can based on the information that we have. So I'll go through the questions very quickly, and hopefully there won't be much discussion other than just answers. The first question is, will the commissioners or the joint district board manage the new system? Again, it's a governance question. I think that the answer is a combination of those two things, but the commissioners would have to have oversight because of the funding and because of the grant writing, etc. I'll let everybody else answer the question as they think.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how it would be set up. We would solicit the prosecutor for help here. There will be a board, so this is not in the entire county, so all the townships and villages that would be part of this new system would be represented in a board. Now, whether that's an advisory board, governing board, how the commissioners, how all that works, I'm not sure yet, but so I'll just leave it at that. We'll just have to work through that. That's my position on it, but I think in the end, at least initially, we would have I see Ken and Danny running it. So to be determined.
Okay.
It's my take.
So second question is, what will be your standard operating procedures of the countywide system? And again, that would be the administration that is hired by the county to run the system. That would be their decision along with the new joint board.
Right.
What happens if the levy doesn't pass? Well, we really can't plan for the future based on whether, what happens if sales taxes fall off? What happens if casino money falls off? I don't know. We have to cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, I think, just a comment, I think we have a current system now, and so all of us would agree on what a new system would look like. If we agree to that, then I would think as electeds, because that's who's talking, the trustees, the villages, the commissioners, as electeds, people that put us in office, if we're on the same page and we think this is the best scenario, then we would go to the public and have public meetings, various schools, wherever we would have them, and we would put it on the ballot. If the ballot went down, then I guess we have what we have. And if the ballot passed, then we would move forward. So I don't think it's all or none, but the commissioners feel very, very strong, and I think when we do go to the voters, when that day comes, I don't know when that would be, I think we would have a good case, and we would have exhausted all the options that we're currently vetting out, and I think the voters would understand that.
Well, there's 2 points to be made here. First of all, the county would not initiate any levy. It would be the recommendation of the Joint Ambulance District,
Yeah.
the countywide at that point in time. That's one. And the second item is that it has a much greater potential for being passed if the ambulance districts and the township trustees get behind it than it does if there is some pushback. So the idea here is to come up with a system that everybody agrees is the best possible system we can have, and then sell that fact. So the odds are much higher if people support it, and it would be something that the ambulance districts would decide as to whether they need to put it on. It's a possibility that the money that's being generated now may be sufficient to run the system for a few years into the future. Leadership structure and who will do the checks and balances, that's a kind of a decision. It's a structural decision that would be made by, with Derek's advice, and there would be for sure, there would be representation of each of the districts and some members that have some interest in this. There would also be a commissioner on that Joint Ambulance District Board.
And it would be audited by the state, obviously, if that's
Right.
kind of where I'm not sure where that question's gearing towards.
Will the paid EMTs be county employees or JAD employees? I think they'll be county employees. They need to be as far as getting the benefits, et cetera. And who will control the pay and benefits for the EMTs? Well, Jamie, our human resource person, will kind of do that in conjunction with their supervisor, who at that point would be that board and our administration.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think the distinction between the board, I don't see at this time anyhow that it's just totally independent. This new board, this new EMS system is totally independent from the county. That we're going to be working together, no question about it. I think the county brings a lot of benefits to the table. We're going to control our own destiny. We have the blanket of the county, so I see this as county employees. But a board that has a seat at the table that kind of understands what's going on there, that can give some input, hold the county's portion accountable, that kind of thing. So I don't think it's payroll over here. I mean, the county's going to be a big part of it. And that's how I see it.
And Ken is on a call if you have any questions.
Okay, good, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Ken, you please jump in anytime you want.
Yeah, as I said, can respond to some of these.
Yeah, I have prepared answers for all these questions, and I've reduced those to writing and gotten them to Stacy. If you guys would like me to address any of these, just let me know, I'd be more than happy to.
Okay, we'll call them when.
Ken, well, as we go along here, if our answers are any different than what your thought process is here, Ken, as I say, my suggestion is gonna be from this point forward, after we get through these at future meetings, you'll manage, and we'll sit back as information people, bigger picture people. But we're at the point now where we have decided that it is gonna be a countywide system, and now we need to let the administration take over and handle the nuts and bolts of that process. So,
Sir, I'm prepared to do that.
okay. So the next question is, how are the volunteers going to be implemented within the new system? Basically the same as they are now. Volunteers are just that. You know, if they decide they want to go from district to district, they're welcome to do that. But again, many of the stations will have 2 trucks. And there will be many times when we're going to need those volunteers to staff those secondary trucks. Again, it would be a management decision, but volunteers, God bless them, we need to continue to have them. But it's going to be up to them as to when and if they want to work, by virtue of the fact that they are volunteers. How will the stations be staffed and place people in appropriate stations? It's going to depend on how many people come in the system. They'll be staffed by being interviewed by the EMS director, and I'll look at the qualifications. I think it's appropriate here to say that our goal is to have 24/7, 365 service with qualified personnel, so that there is no out of service ultimately, and that when someone arrives at a situation at your house or your neighbor's house, they will be met by qualified paramedics who will administer the necessary procedures and then get you to the closest hospital. At this point, we have situations in which the people that show up on scene are not necessarily qualified to administer certain procedures, so we need to get them to the hospital as quickly as possible. Our goal here is to save as many lives as possible. How will the stations be staffed and place people in appropriate stations? Again, that would be up to the administration and the logistics there. Who will own and maintain the stations and equipment? I believe that the answer there is the county.
If we build the buildings.
If we build the buildings and buy the equipment, yeah. Are we planning
I
to put?
think we should take a pause here. I think, and Ken, I do have your answers, by the way. Which makes this discussion a positive discussion, in my view, for the citizens that in the county that will be part of the new system, is the commitment of the commissioners and the commitment of the resources that the county is putting towards this. If the county commissioners were not involved in this discussion and did not put the resources in that we have, the cost would be much, much higher. So we're trying to find a balance between the county role and the new, soon-to-be new district role, and what the people can pay and what the county commissioners can pay. And if we have alignment and we place these stations strategically, if we include the volunteers with the paid people, I think we can provide a really good service for our county at the best cost. So these are two-part answers.
Can you turn that down? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. These are two-part answers to the questions, but the commissioners, it's well documented, way before my time, have been committed to helping serve the districts in the county. We have spent, this year it's over $1 million. In the past, it's $500,000-$600,000. The year before it was $750,000. These are big numbers. I think, to Commissioner Kirchner's point, we're not making promises for future commissioners, but I know I feel strong about continuing that support with the cooperation of the new district. There's times now where I feel we're putting good money after bad because we're on a slippery slope and we're not in alignment, and that's what this is all about. is trying to make this work. So these questions that are directed, what will the commissioners keep doing with equipment and buildings and medical director and personnel? I mean, at this time, I think we're committed to it. That's my position on it, but again, it's a two-way street. We need alignment.
So that's a good segue. The next one is that if commissioners are planning to put $500,000 into the budget, what can be done if a different group of commissioners, and the answer is nothing. A different group of commissioners will do what they will do. If history is any indication of future performance, I would like nothing better than to say that our commitment's $500,000 because it's $1 million this year and it's been over $700,000 the past couple of years. So, again, from my standpoint individually, we'll continue to fund what needs to be funded in order to get us closer to the 24/7, 365. Hopefully at some point, we'll all understand exactly what those total costs are and make a decision as to how that's gonna be funded.
Yeah, and I don't know how this works, so, but it may be possible for us to discuss, and again, I'm just throwing this out, the commissioners could have a contract with this new district that says something, this is where Derek comes in, you know, what we're gonna provide, what you're gonna provide, similar to what we have, only a much, it would be a lot deeper in content, and part of that contract could be where the commissioners agree that they will provide this and that. Now, right now, we're not going there, but that, I think, as this goes down the road, we may end up with some sort of agreement that will address this question, but nothing's ever forever, you know, so we have to, that's why you have a board, you're gonna meet, we're gonna look at this ongoing and have communication to make it work, but those are my thoughts initially anyhow.
So the last question was if Bascom went with the county system, will there be a squad at the current Bascom station? The answer is absolutely. We hope that they do go along. They have got a new fire station that was built that includes quarters for possibly 2 paramedics on a 24/7 basis. So that would be a great step forward, at least as part of the puzzle from my standpoint. That would take away the need to build another station that would be there and ready to go. So that was their questions as it related to what would they do if they came into the system. And then they had a set of questions about what would we do if they decided not to come in the system. And the first question has to do with mutual aid, and I'm gonna let Ken address that.
Okay, I have some suggestions on the previous questions as well, but I'll hold those until we have an opportunity to discuss that face to face.
Okay.
As far as mutual aid goes, for question number 1 of the second part, we plan to be a mutual aid quality partner. Question number 1, the way I'm looking at that and what I came up with is if Bascom separates from the county, we may be available on a case-by-case basis, just as we are to every other agency in the surrounding area, but it can't be automatic, and the echo unit will no longer be available unless we, unless, you know, we don't want to short our system to try and provide mutual aid. So in the long term, we may end up eliminating the echo unit altogether and just providing him a partner and that become one of our full-time squads. We may not have an echo into the future, depending on how many buy-in we get from each of the districts. If the county has units available to lend mutual aid, obviously we're going to do everything we can to provide mutual aid, but we can't short our own service area of a critical need of EMS resources. If the county would develop some sort of contract with the Echo Paramedic to provide ALS intercept type services, I've approached the board several times about this for other areas. We've had some other agencies approach us to provide that service, and it was always a negative answer. We weren't able to do it. It would take the echo unit out of our service area for too long of a time, so we decided at those times not to do it. But it has been discussed, and it can be, obviously situations change, and it can be discussed again in the case that if Bascom wanted to to form their own district and move their own way. Additionally, speaking of just a little bit of an address of what Commissioner Paradiso just said about creating a contract for service, I think if we were to do something like that, I think the county should, and this is future, should commit to just providing 2 ALS transport units, 1 east, 1 west, and then support the volunteer units as much as we can. The total cost of that project wouldn't exceed probably $1.5 million for 2 full-time ambulances. Now, at that time, we would no longer have an echo unit. But if we did that, we could provide a contractual service to the districts and have a east and west ALS unit with, it would not be the best method, but it would be the cheapest, and it would allow everybody to continue to do their own thing in their own joint ambulance districts, and the county would just develop their own system of 2 squads. We've talked about this probably 8-10 years ago, and we've talked about it several times in the past. It doesn't seem to be the best way to do it. The best way to do it is, just like we've always said, we're all better off if we work together in good faith efforts moving forward, and that's the answer to most of these questions.
Okay, that's good. I'll just continue on. Additional staffing, would they be able to hire any joint ambulance districts county employees? If they
I think we're gonna need that. We're gonna need that question clarified because I'm reading it a couple of different ways, and after discussion with the county administrator, we're reading it a few different ways. But I can tell you this factually: the county personnel policy manual dictates the part-time employment of county employees. So Section 8.10 of our personnel policy manual states that under no circumstances shall a county employee have other employment or activities which conflict with the objectives, interests, or operations of the county in accordance with that Seneca County Personnel Policy Manual. So the short answer is no, but I may not understand the question, and that may not be what they're asking, so we need to get that question clarified.
Okay, number 3, this is strictly a contractual answer, but the fact of the matter is that both sides have an opportunity to leave the system or to not be part of the system with a 90-day notification. So my answer there, from a contractual standpoint, is 90 days. If Bascom Joint Ambulance and Sister decides to move forward as they are on their own, they would notify us that they're out of the system, or we would notify them that they're out of the system, and they have 90 days to set themselves up.
So I would just add, I think there's, you might be saying the same thing, I'm not sure. The fact that Bascom is looking into the possibility of leaving does not mean they're leaving. So this is where I don't want to give Bascom a scarlet letter because they're taking the time to decide if they want to go on their own or not. That said, I think Bascom understands that the clock's ticking. We're moving this process forward. These are good questions. I think this is a good start. And to Commissioner Kirshner's point, we do have a contract with all the districts. It has a 90-day clause both ways. And if we were to if Bascom were to leave, we would exercise our 90-day clause, or they would with us, and then after 90 days we could leave, or they could leave. Now, we can have discussions of what that might look like and how long it might take, but there's clearly a contract that if parties are going to separate, would need to be terminated. So
Anything beyond that would be a question of negotiation, because
Yeah.
the contract says 90-day notice, one way or the other, and you're out.
I think that's black and white. I agree.
Yeah, number 4, Ken, I'll let you hit that, because I'm not sure I understand it.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Question number 4 is, what is the potential for Bascom to acquire a squad from the county, essentially? Currently, it's not possible. Due to the COVID delay, we have a hard time getting ambulances. We ordered an ambulance at the beginning of this year. We're not going to receive that ambulance until mid first quarter of next year. and that's due to COVID delays at the manufacturer. And it's not just one manufacturer, because we've researched several different vendors. Also due to things like microchip shortages and other labor factors that are involved, we're unable to currently procure a new ambulance. So really right now, we need all of our operational units because we have had some breakdowns, and also we have found some deficiencies in the ambulance doing regularly scheduled maintenance, which we do. And when we find those problems, we have to fix those problems. These are emergency vehicles and they have to be dependable. So right now we have a shortage of units and we're unable to replace them. So I don't believe that it would be in the best interest of the county to donate, sell, or otherwise get rid of one of our ambulances, and in particular the ambulance that is in Bascom, because it is in alignment with the new standardization that we're trying to accomplish, meaning that the rear end of that ambulance is the same as 4 other ambulances, plus the new one that we have coming. So no, we would not be able to acquire, they would not at this time be able to acquire an ambulance from the county.
I would have understood the question. It says, can you acquire an ambulance? But the question was, can we acquire a squad? I'm not sure what that means.
That's a good point, Mike, and I agree. I think we should get that clarified. If they're looking for a squad, an ambulance is a truck. A squad has 2 qualified, certified personnel involved at all times. So that is a different question, and I didn't answer that question appropriately. If that is what the question
That's
is.
why I was confused.
Good point.
I didn't catch
Thank you.
that.
Calm down.
That's good.
Any options for acquiring county equipment? My immediate answer is, if at the retail value at that point in time, if we don't need it in other areas, I suppose we would consider it. But if we need it in other ambulances, I would say no.
I think that's a,
Is that pretty much it, Ken?
Yes and no. And what I mean by that is, I think the best practice there would be for the county to provide a list of vendors and contact information for the district to be able to purchase their own new or refurbished monitor defibrillator systems, simply because these devices, the ones that we have, are ALS built specifically to be utilized by ALS personnel. Some of the parameters that those monitors provide are not in the basic EMT scope of practice. So therefore, they may be a little over and above what they would need. Now, auto pulse system, yes, that would be something we could probably, they could acquire from us. But honestly, in the short term, for a BLS ambulance to go into service, really all they need as far as a monitor would be an AED, and I believe Bascom Fire already has those units. As most all fire departments in the county already have those units in their stock. And you also got to remember, to have an ALS set of protocols, you have to have an ALS certified crew as well as a medical director who prescribes that. All of this medical equipment has to be used under the direction of a physician. It's much like a prescription medication. Just because you have it doesn't mean you can use it unless you're trained to do so and are authorized to do so by protocol from a licensed physician medical director.
Got it. Now, question number 6, I believe that the answer is statutorily, the county cannot resell any supplies. Is that?
That is correct.
okay.
So we can't buy them and sell them to somebody else. Okay.
No, sir.
And the last question is simply, it's up to the next group of commissioners. In 5 to 10 years, will they have the opportunity to join us? I can't speak for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I guess I would concur. And I don't know how to answer that. I would like to think they could join. Bascom could come in, anybody could come in. But that process, they'd have to go, it'd be a new set of commissioners and a new board, and you just have to make your case at that time.
Because we may already have buildings put up and then.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest thing. The advantage to anybody, whether it's Eden Township or Bascom or Thompson, whoever's not in or is thinking about not being in, the advantage today is you have a seat at the table. And as we choose where we're gonna put these squads and buildings and calculate the cost and set up governance and that kind of thing, now's the time to be involved. Because down the road, when things change and things are established and you want to come in, you very well can come in, but it's just going to be a different, you have to come in under the, however it's set up.
We'd like to get it on the ground floor.
Yeah, I think being on the ground floor is just, it's exciting in one respect. This is tough work, but you know, we're really in a position where we can make some decisions for the long term of the county that I think will be lasting.
Well, I just think that it comes down to the fact that actions have consequences. Okay, if at this point in time, it's decided to not become part of the county, which they have every right to do, and we understand it, but that we would reconfigure where the stations would be that would not include the Bascom area, and it would be very difficult to change that configuration 5 years from now. Again, I don't know what I would do as a commissioner 5 years from now, but I do know that it would make the decision much more difficult if you weren't in from the beginning. I mean, I guess that's how I would have to frame it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're gonna come in 3 years, just come in now. You know what, I don't, you're either, things can change but you know, and I've said this before, and Ken, you've schooled me over the year or two now. You know, we're an EMS system, period. We're not fire EMS. And we have 10 volunteer fire departments in the county, and only one, Sycamore, does a fire-based EMS system, and this is what Bascom's looking at doing. But the rest of the county is volunteer fire. Bill, I see you in the back, Green Springs, Old Fort, AVR, Bettsville, Republic, Bloomville, New Riddle, they're fire departments. And we're looking at EMS. And so we've got 10 volunteer fire departments. We could have 2, 3, or 4 paid EMS stations sprinkled throughout the county that could do the job. That's what makes sense. And we're not a fire-based EMS, so if it's philosophically, and I think, Ken, you and I have had these discussions, we're not thinking that. We're advanced EMS only. They're not fire trained, these are EMS people.
This also take a big workload off of them, because right now they're trying to do fire and EMS. If they could just focus on fire, that kind of frees up some of their manpower and some of their thought process.
So, the only motivation, at least I believe, that we have at this board is to do whatever it is that's in the best interest of those people that put us here, period. There are a lot of differences as to what stage different ambulance districts are at this point. Some have the ability to man it with volunteers more often than others. But the fact of the matter is, out of service is becoming a real concern. The times that people are out of service are more and more often across the county as a whole. Our goal is to make certain, just imagine please, if you will, that we have a volunteer service again, and we appreciate them so much, but when they get a call, they've got to get in their vehicle, get to the station, get in the ambulance, and get to the scene, okay? And you're probably going to get an EMT, but sometimes there might be an EMS amongst those. Under this proposal, these people will be at the station and ready to jump on that truck and save 5 to 10 minutes possibly to get to a situation that needs immediate attention. This can be the difference between life and death. You know, we believe that the people in the county ought to have as professional a service get to them as if you were in the city of Tiffin or the city of Fostoria. City of Tiffin has paramedics on the truck ready to go right now if they get a call. We want that same kind of service to be available to those people across the county. And again, we're very appreciative of what's happened, but it's been a volunteer system that has been supplemented by full-time people. It has to be a full-time system that's supplemented by volunteers. That's the only way we're going to ensure long-term stability and long-term functionality of an EMS system across Seneca County. And whether you come with us today or whether you come with us 5 years from now, could be the difference of better service at this point as opposed to what you're going to be able to put together right now. So I would implore each of the ambulance districts to seriously consider becoming part of the countywide ambulance system, because I sincerely believe it's in the best interest of the citizens. Period. That's the only motivation.
Yeah, and to that point, Mike, the districts have to begin to think out of the district. You know, we talk mutual aid, helping each other out. Some districts are different spots in their service than others. But if we think of the total county system and helping each other out, it makes a lot of sense to go together. So being together up front will lower the burden on those that come in, because everybody will be in, and that'll help financially and help the momentum. And my analogy, I thought of this the other day, if you hit 911 and we had volunteer sheriff's department, and it was a Saturday night and nobody was working, what would people think? I mean, you just assume holidays, no matter what, when you hit 911, somebody's coming. Well, it's the same thing with EMS, you know, and I think qualities, we've got good volunteers. It's more time and response to me. When it takes 15, 20 minutes sometimes, or even longer, time is very critical in an emergency. So,
But Ken, help me out here, if you will. Different levels of qualification for folks on that truck when they get there, allow them to do different things at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
And in transport as well.
give me an example of what a paramedic can do as opposed to an EMT, for example.
that's a good question.
Well, there's a multitude of things that a paramedic is qualified and certified to do that an EMT is not. One of those things is to give IV medications, to utilize the most advanced airway techniques to secure an airway in a patient that's not breathing or a patient that's struggling to breathe. A paramedic can also have a higher clinical assessment ability to determine whether or not someone is actually having a heart attack or not, by using the 12-lead EKG and being able to interpret them. Now, EMTs can assess 12-lead EKGs and send them directly to a physician, but I'm not sure if everybody's been watching the news media. A lot of our emergency departments are extremely busy, and the doctor, either one or two of them, don't always have the time to go over to the computer and study a 12-lead immediately, where a paramedic can do that on scene. They're very well educated in that respect. An EMT has a variety of skills within their scope of practice that make them very effective in the field. When I got certified as a basic EMT, National Registered EMT in 1986, we had never even heard of things like pulse ox or automatic blood pressure cuffs or EKG machines in the field at that time. Nowadays, EMTs can do all those things, but they're very basically trained, and the clinical assessment and the ability of those people to make clinical decisions in a high acuity patient is where a paramedic really shines. And the paramedic's ability to treat those patients in the field immediately upon seeing them. Basically, the old saying, and it's a joke, but it applies, is heal in the field. But you don't really heal them. What you do is you treat symptomatically and you move them safely to an emergency department that's appropriate to treat their care. Whereas an EMT is taught to stabilize, package, transport, and go to the closest emergency department quickly. Where a paramedic is highly clinically trained, the education requirements are exceeding 1,000 hours of education now. Those folks are true medical professionals that have highly adaptive clinical skills and the ability to assess a multitude of medical and traumatic situations and have a whole bunch of really cool tools that make them very successful in preventing preventable death and treating and easing the pain and suffering of patients that are in dire need.
Okay.
Kind of a long answer, I apologize.
That's good.
I mean, the goal again is just to give everybody the best chance possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Quick question on,
Yes.
so if we go with the 24/7 system with 3-4 squads, so basically each squad will have 2 paramedics on it, is that?
That's our goal. I think, Ken, you can answer that.
Yes, sir. In the end, I believe we're going to try to have full-time unit staff with 2 paramedics, but I think that that is a bit of a high goal at this point. Knowing, just looking around the county at the 8 or 9 area agencies that are similar to us, we all are struggling trying to hire good qualified paramedics. So initially, I believe we'll work with advanced EMTs, paramedics, and EMTs in combination to create an ALS crew to the best of our ability until we can either educate, bring those people up through the system, hire them as basic EMTs and educate them to be paramedics, much like the city of Cleveland does and Sandusky County does, and a lot of the area agencies that we're trying to model successful behavior. But in the short go, our stopgap measure there is to have a very qualified paramedic on the echo unit that provides ALS intercept, so we will have a paramedic available in every run. And that goes back to the reasoning of, are we going to get rid of volunteers? No, we are not going to get rid of volunteers ever, and probably in my lifetime. But we will be prepared for them to exit of their own accord. As volunteerism falls off, our recruiting needs to increase, so we replace those assets with paid assets, and at that moment, then we begin the career path of an EMS employee as a basic EMT, and then provide them the education and mentorship that they need to be successful paramedics in our system and anywhere in the world.
Thank you. Okay, anything to add, gentlemen?
That's good.
All right, Senate Bill 52, this ought to be relatively short. huh?
Yeah, this is just this short. I just wanted to give you an update. Working with Derek, making sure we got all the documents in place, getting a quote from the AT for the advertisement, and Alex, over our GIS coordinator at the auditor's office, is getting the maps printed out so we can post them in the required areas. So next week, we should be ready to set time and date for that hearing and be ready to go. So,
Thank you very much for your work on that, Stacy.
yep, just want to make sure we do it right since it's
Yeah.
new.
Yeah, and I didn't say it last week, but Jim Fiesel actually brought those, the needs that we need to fulfill in order to pass any resolution for Senate Bill 52 to us. I know it was a published information, but he brought it to our attention. I want to publicly thank him for making sure that we're in compliance.
Good.
Okay. Anything else under old business? New business?
New business, okay, I have some supplemental appropriation for Wolf Creek. Need additional $175.93 into the other expense. That's to get the second half settlement paid. And I have a supplemental appropriation from the clerk of courts, putting $400 into travel. She is looking to have an employees do the leadership Seneca County, and they've given her a grant to pay for half of it. And as you remember, we had taken travel out of the initial budget, so she's, yes, we have leadership Seneca County here. She did it last year, this year, beginning of this year. So additional $400 into travel. And I have a request from Common Pleas 2. Additional funds needed to be returned to the ODRC as funds were not used by Oriana House. This is in their, make sure I remember what it was called, Justice Reinvestment and Incentive Grant. So they need $69,968 put into their other expense so they can get that sent back. And then I have a request for an additional 100,000 into other expense. This is in the sales tax collection fund. Sales tax revenue was up, therefore there are more expenses for the admin fees and refunds. So it's good that the sales tax is up. It's bad because we didn't anticipate enough for the admin fees, so she needs an additional 100,000.
Seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, so we're overextended by 28,000 right now, so she needs the additional.
We'll have some extra in there.
Yep, but I mean that's a good thing because that means more sales tax. And I think that's all of those that I have. I have a resolution to cancel the maintenance reduction assessments for 11-092 pursuant to section 9137 of the Ohio Revised Code. We got this request from the Soil and Water for landowner, it says Wilderness 3 LTD, no longer needed for the reduction. It needs to be canceled.
You said pursuant to 9137, is that?
9137, the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay, I've got 6137.
Oh, is that, yeah, 6137.
6137?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was looking right at that.
Oh, it's okay.
Would you say that's not even backwards or anything? There's no 9 in there.
No, I don't.
6 upside down.
Dyslexic or upside down? Yeah. Yep, sorry. I have a resolution. I think we're still a work in progress. The resolution certifying unpaid assessments to the county auditor for collection under Ohio Revised Code section 6117.02. These need to be filed by the Ohio Revised Code by the second Monday in September. I think there's some calculation errors between regional planning and the auditor's office. The last email we got before we came into board was saying there were still errors in it, so we need to make sure that gets fixed yet today.
Our spreadsheet has a calculation error that we can't find, so we're
Okay.
manually doing it.
Okay, we'll get that fixed. Maybe, I don't know, just a recommendation maybe for next year. Is there any way we can move up the deadline date for when, I know you allow through August, so it really is a time crunch for us. I mean, we're working on this still yet today when, you know, if you could move the deadline to the end of July. I know Julie sends out the notification July 8th this year. It's just making it difficult trying to get this accomplished before the deadline. So I don't know if that's an option, if you could take it back to Mark or something, just to give us a little bit more time than the day of trying to get this settled. It's just
Same for us every year. It's a crunch.
okay.
So I don't know how to make it easier because so it's a bill and it's in a collection. Basically, it's a collection to an account. So if we assess these collections at the end of July, but technically it doesn't have to be assessed till September, and it really doesn't go on there in taxes until whenever, then they pay between July and September. They really should have had all that time to be able to pay and not have it assessed to the property.
But you could get everything ready, cut the deadline off at the end of July, and just like we've done before, have it ready. These are the people that are late that are going to be assessed, and if they come in before we certify it, which we still wouldn't certify it obviously until the date there, but if you have a deadline of July 31st, then they should really have their bills paid. Granted, it'll still give you some leeway, but we just can't keep waiting until the last minute. And the responsibility of the owners need to get their bills paid. I know COVID's been a little rough on people getting paid, but this just seems to be an issue every year. I know the auditor's office is frustrated, we're frustrated, you're frustrated. So if we could just maybe work on that timeline a little bit better for going forward, and even if it's a mid-August date that we cut off, and just to make it easier on our end. So we have the title, and she will be getting us the corrected numbers. I think I read the title, so. And then I have a resolution accepting the bid and authorizing an agreement with M&B Asphalt for the issue 1, round 35, 2021 Seneca County Township Road Reconstruction Program, OPWC-CP09YX. The total bid for that was $1,321,268.19. And then I have a resolution authorizing Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into the issue 1, round 36 cooperative agreements with the Seneca County Township Boards of Trustees. And this is the generic resolution, but we have a document for all of them to sign. And it is all of the townships.
All except Liberty. Liberty chose not to do it because all they had was a chip and seal
Okay.
project, and you can't do chip and seal under OPWC issue 1. So there's the resolution from the commissioners, and then attached, as I said, Kylie, should be all separate townships cooperative agreement that the commissioners need to sign each cooperative agreement.
What happens to their money?
They don't have money. We're not applying for their money. There's no money for
This
them.
is, yeah, okay, so they're out.
Yep.
Got it.
I have a resolution authorizing a second amendment with Patchwork House Incorporated contract on behalf of the Seneca County Department of Job and Family Services. And they have a third amendment, authorizing a third amendment to add funds and renew to include the FY22 to the visitation contract with Patchwork House on behalf of the Seneca County Department of Job and Family Services. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, I will accept the motion to approve the supplemental appropriations and the resolutions as just presented.
So moved.
Second the motion.
Okay, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Kylie?
Commissioner Schuff,
Yes.
Commissioner Paradiso,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner.
Yes. Okay,
I have one
go. Hit it.
question, okay, two questions. The letter that we received from Bascom, were our comments a formal response to this? Or
Yeah, I just-
how do you see this playing out officially?
Well, I officially, I think that we will advise them to review the tape, if you will. I don't know that we can print a transcript off.
We can probably put it into a draft for you to review, just to make sure that you agree with
Okay.
how we've
Is that okay
interpreted
with you?
your
That's what I'm trying to-
responses.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that Ken's input's in there, because a lot of that is more technical in nature than, it's further down in the weeds that we ought to be getting.
Yeah, and I do agree with Kent's, he took the time to answer some of these. To me, I think our role as electeds is to get the other electeds to set the vision and the direction and the financial part, but to leave this up to Ken, all these questions about policies and that kind of thing. And then, of course, we play that out with the new board and Derek. But, okay, so that.
Yeah, so I mean, but
I'm
and Ken's answer, written answer is as good as anything that we've seen so far. But I just think that we have to make certain that the top or the bottom disclosure is that this is our opinion
Today.
based on today's, based on the knowledge that we have today. Not necessarily binding any future commissioners, nor is anything in here considered a contract or a commitment. It's just the answers to the questions.
Yeah, and we were gonna take some time to look at these, but I'm glad you brought it up today. My initial reaction was we need a little bit of time, but I think, let's answer these questions as we know them today, and as this plays out going forward, though, we all have the right to amend it and change this, but I think what we discussed today was good and should be our response as of today. Number two, Mike Ditto, are you on
He was.
the call?
Yep, I see him.
Yeah, I see him
Yep.
there.
Hi, Mike.
Might not be paying attention.
Still on mute if he's there. He may be tending to one of the children or something. There he is.
There he is.
No, we're here.
Good.
Yeah, Mike, question. Thanks for getting back to us on House Bill 155.
Of course.
Create the land bank monies. speaking for myself, I'm sure the other commissioners would agree, we would like you to get involved in this, push this forward. Based on your email, there have been 4 hearings. It's about $100 million down in Columbus that's being discussed to go into land bank. It's been a tremendous, it's made a tremendous impact in Seneca County. We know in neighborhoods where we've taken plight out, the property values of the homes have gone up. The neighbors have put money in their homes and fixed them up. It's a great program. And we have DRETAC money that we use and recycle through, and I don't know what that number is, 150,000, 100, let's say 100.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite 100.
So we have enough maybe to do 10 houses a year, that kind of thing. So these chunks of money from the state would make a big impact.
Got it.
Okay, do you guys agree?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We will engage with the sponsors of the bill, plus the committee chair and the committee members on that bill, and see where it's headed and see what we can do. So we'll get on that.
Yeah, thanks. That's all I have for you. Let's see, lights up.
You got anything for us, Mike?
Nothing more today, other than the State of Ohio Redistricting Commission is unveiling their first round of the new state legislative maps for the Ohio House and the Ohio Senate. So those will be forthcoming and probably subject to change here in the next couple of days, and we expect new congressional maps in the weeks ahead. So that's sort of the flavor of the day here in Columbus right now, is seeing what the new lines look like. So stay tuned on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that something you can send to us when that comes out, or?
Yeah, in fact, as soon as we jump off this meeting, I'll send you the first iteration of the maps that they're discussing right now.
Thank you.
Okay, Jimmy, make the announcement if you will.
Yeah, if you're joining us on Zoom and you'd like to come forward during the public comment portion of the meeting, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and come forward now.
Feeling better?
I'm getting there.
You feel good enough to report anything?
I do.
Or you, okay.
I do. I'm filling in for Audrey.
I was going to try to take it easy.
So I appreciate it. Audrey's out, and I wanted to be here to at least. There were a couple things that had been working on. One is the Rural Broadband Task Force. So I'm going to be putting. My hope had been to put that together with all the feedback early part of this week. By this weekend, I should have the draft. It'll go out next week to all the stakeholders for any final revisions. Hopefully by the end of that week. So we may be off by 5 days or a week in terms of the issuance, just because of the delay. But everything's still on track. We've gotten some good feedback, both at the meeting and separately. You all, of course, will see that. Second thing, so websites initiative that involves the commissioners and the sheriff, as well as the city and what we're doing at TSEP in downtown. That was issued on Monday. And so that will be until the 11th of October that's out. And just to let you know, we have already, prior to the issuance of that, proactively contacted a ton of firms that work in our space and government space and other space to give them a heads up. And so we're not just putting a sign in the yard hoping people come by. We are actively saying, hey, consider putting proposals in for this. So we've already been getting some positive responses already, and so what we anticipate with that is we'll get those proposals and get them all out to everybody and go through the same kind of community branding process that we did, collaboratively evaluating the proposals both on rural broadband as well as websites, then interviewing the finalist candidates and coming to a consensus on. So those are the updates on those two things. Also, I appreciate Stacy talking about the downtown celebration at Summit that'll be on the 9th. On September 23rd, so I appreciate her mentioning that. I will also let you know that the Seneca CEO program, which is the high school entrepreneurship program, we had the launch event on the 31st. Appreciate everybody that was there, and the first class was held on the 7th of this month, so earlier this week, and that's going really well. We have a number of school districts from Calvert to Seneca East to Mohawk, and well, I think we have 4 to 5 districts involved. So in our first class, we have 8 students, and I think we're going to let a couple more. We're applying, so we're at the last minute kind of thing. So I think we'll be looking at about 9 or 10. Excited about that. We had a business in Tiffin and in Seneca County through our Entrepreneurial Opportunity Clearinghouse that we put out. They wanted to stay anonymous, but somebody, great business, making money with some real estate, and they would like to kind of value people that may want to buy the business. We've had some businesses that when people retire, they just kind of go. Surf and Turf was one, Hope Boys was another. And so we're trying to get some people, entrepreneurs and capital on this opportunity together to keep a business sustaining. We're hoping that's going to be a model. But there are a few others that we're aware of that people are getting up there and would like to enjoy the latter part of their life and not run a business full time. So that went out on the 31st, and we have, I think, 16 inquiries, serious inquiries that we've already vetted, that they're not just wanting to know who it is, but they're potentially, and what we're going to do is we're going to solicit more information and work with the business owner to pick some finalists that they'd like to talk to. So that's going well in that. On the 15th of, through October 15th, and we just issued the Dream Big Tiffin, which is part of the overall multi-jurisdictional comprehensive plan, but Tiffin's community development planning, submitting, asking for submissions from the public. We're getting good feedback, and we try to build a culture of community development, and so that'll then funnel into what Mike's doing, what you're doing, and we're making everybody aware of that. So we're excited about that. It'll be our second year for doing that and coming up with a prioritized list. We hope to be done by the end of the year in time for state capital budget. So that's part of the intention, and we're trying to get all that stuff together so we can put good proposals together. So that's some of the thinking. But state capital budget isn't the only reason for that. And obviously everything that kind of happens in the city also affects the county. Spec building purchase agreement was approved by Tiffin City Council this week on Tuesday, and they have the lease agreement, and so everything's moving forward on the spec building. We're excited about that. Also, this coming Monday, Chandler Groom starts with our organization for Northwest Crew Ready. That's the big workforce development initiative. There are 3 places companies can get workers. They can get them from the existing pool. I kind of look at it like football. You can go get a free agent, right, which is somebody who's already working, or you can go to some challenging populations. I think there are amazing opportunities with folks with disabilities, like offenders, et cetera. But we view the biggest opportunity as really what I would call the rookies, right? So it's the high school folks that aren't automatically going to high school or automatically in Sentinel, or want to fulfill their work and experience companies locally. So that full-time person starts on Monday to be just dedicated to that. We have 5 counties involved, 15 school districts on ramping up work-based learning. And then last but not least, manufacturing showcase. We're trying to get the word out. It will take place on October the 8th. And we have a low sign up so far, but again, this is one of those things where local companies, manufacturers engage with high school students and kind of, in a COSI kind of way, expose them to, hey, this is kind of cool, this is the kind of stuff you do, and begin those relationships. Because at the end of the day, a lot of the high schoolers only hear the retail, because they go into McDonald's, they go shop, but they don't automatically go into Webster, they don't go into National, they don't go into Church and Dwight, and those kind of businesses around the county. So I know that's a lot to report, but I know we got a whole team report coming up, but those are all like right now things, so I wanted to share those with the commissioner.
Thank you.
Good.
Any questions for Dave?
Thanks.
You mentioned Architectural Board of Review. Ours went in front of the Architectural Board of Review Tuesday and passed.
It did pass the health department. Good. Okay, so the facade for the health department passed.
So the facade passed for the health department.
Even with the sandstone.
That building, the wall passed, and so Mr. Brian Bowe, we are putting windows in, and we are putting that sandstone on the side. He didn't get all red brick, and but it's still going to happen. And I had to throw that in.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
But we're excited. It passed, and it's moving forward. So.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, public or otherwise? 11:19, we are adjourned.
Hey, David.
Yes, sir.